high-speed fishing in the winter is a great way to find fish and to mix it up a little bit from your traditional slow dragging a jig or slow dragging a swim bait. And we're gonna start with a killer, the swim bait. So the swim bait, as you can see, you might not be able to see, but this water's really clear, so this kind of translucent swim bait doesn't really stand out too well, which is really good in the clear water. You don't want anything unnatural. So a swim bait like this can be worked several different ways, but if you're tired of working your baits real slow in the wintertime, you just throw it out. In this case, let it sink all the way to the bottom. This is a creek that runs out through here, and a creek bed, so there's some gravel and rocks and stuff out there, as well as the trees that are out in the water that you can see. So you throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, then you can just do a pretty fast reel, about a turn a second probably. 1, 2, 3. And that'll keep it really close to the bottom, not on the bottom, but really close. And you just reel it back around structure that you think or know holds fish. I've caught fish off of this creek bed in the summer and late fall. I think I just had a hit right there. Yeah, I'll do that again for you. Throw it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom. There, it's on the bottom. There's the bait right there. A few quick reels. That pops it up off the bottom, where if you're afraid you're going to be dragging it, reeling a little too slow and dragging it across the bottom, or you're using a little bit too heavy weight, you can pop it up off the bottom, and then the rest of the cast you won't be dragging it right along the bottom. And this is, I think, a 3/8 ounce head, which is good for this size swim bait and this depth, which is not too deep, probably I'd say 10 foot probably. And I know that creek bed is pretty straight out and right in the middle, so I'm going to cast on the other side of it for bass, especially, you know, especially in really clear water like this. It's hard to get a bite, so if you just want to go around and throw something all day and not be slow dragging, yeah, there's definitely a bite. That's definitely a bite. Not be dragging something real slow all day long, a swim bait is a great bet. Draws a lot of bites, even from finicky fish. Even in the summertime, it's a great bait. Now there's trout in here, so I think that's what's hitting the swim bait right here. But there could be some structure right there. This is less common, especially here in Kentucky, is a Huddleston style. It's got that big floppy tail. I don't know if you can see in the water, but it thumps super slow. Now, in our slow fishing video in the winter, that's gonna come out probably here in the next week or so. I'll explain the most common way to fish a Huddleston, but the way I like fishing a Huddleston in the winter is exactly the same, or it's a little different than how you fish a regular swim bait, paddle tail swim bait. I've had a ton of luck throwing a Huddleston style bait in the wintertime, throwing it right along shoreline cover, just like this bush, or right along the bank like this. Maybe not here, since the water is so clear and still super cold, but in smaller ponds where the water warms up really quick, or say along a riprap bank, that riprap or that cover, that shoreline, is going to warm up and fish will come to that to warm up some. And in the wintertime, like right around in here, all this standing brush, all these trees that are hanging in the water, and this creek bed will warm up like on a sunny day like this. So the fish will come out of the deeper water and get on this warmer cover. Sometimes. Now sometimes you'll find them sitting out in the deep water, right out in the center. They'll be right in the middle of this stuff, right in the middle of this gully. But sometimes they'll come all the way up in here in these little cuts and warm up next to some brush or something. And that's the perfect place to roll this Huddleston biome. And it's a great alternative to fishing slow, you know, flipping a jig or flipping a creature bait or a stick bait right up next to it and just slow dragging. And it's cool to throw a big bait like this in general, so at least in my opinion. Now, like I said, work it just about the same as a regular paddle tail swim bait. You can throw this out. Now let it sink to the bottom, just like a paddle tail swim bait. This is heavy duty line, 25-pound test fluorocarbon, 7-foot heavy rod. You gotta be able to throw the big bait. Hit the bottom, do just like the other bait. You'll feel this one kicking. Thump, 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 because of the big heavy tail it has on it. And you just reel it in, steady. You can kill it if you want. Start back up, just as you would with any other swim bait, but in a bigger package. Now we've went over two different types of swim baits, the Huddleston style and then the regular paddle tail style. Let's switch it up and go to the Suspending jerkbait. This is a Lucky Craft. I'm not sure exactly what style, but it is a Lucky Craft. And it's I would consider this a fairly fast way to fish, especially in the wintertime. So just heck of a cast. Get a few cranks down, pause it, a few twitches, let it sit. Now what you want to do is you're getting down to them fish. So if you have to reel a few times, you know, get a deep diving jerkbait, shallow diving jerkbait to adjust to where you're fishing at, to what depth the fish or where you think the fish are sitting. So I think the fish are probably 10 feet, 8 to 10 feet, I'd say. So I reeled it down a few cranks to get it close and then give it a few jerks. Then you want to let it sit. Now, I'm impatient. I like fishing fast. So, you know, 5 seconds is a long pause for me. Give it a pop. A few seconds, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. And you can experiment with giving them big jerks or little jerks. The bait fish that the bass are eating are cold, so you're not going to see them like going all over the place. So reel down to them again, pause, maybe wait 10 seconds if you're not getting hit at 5, maybe wait 15 if you're not getting hit at 10. If you start out at 5, go to 10, you're still not getting bit, maybe go to 15. If you're not getting bit at 15, maybe try a 3-second pause. I really like jerkbait fishing, and you can really use one year round, but the most of the time that you hear people throwing a jerkbait is in the winter, because you can throw it out, pause it, and it'll sit right in front of their face. And that's what you want in the wintertime. Alright, this is one of my favorite techniques besides a jerkbait for wintertime. This is a Strike King spinnerbait that had a big Colorado blade for nighttime fishing. And what I did is I took the black and red skirt off, put the sexy shad skirt and a little trailer on there, and that Colorado blade wobbles super slow. It lets you reel it a lot slower and that blade will still turn. So what you do is throw it out. And like I said at the beginning, got this creek bed that runs down through here. So I think the fish will be sitting there, and exactly like the paddle tail swim bait, throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, and just slow reel it. This is another bait though, just like the Huddleston. You can throw right along the bank. You know, you can see the way this bank curves in, so there's a little bit of a deep spot. And in those warm days, as I said, those warm days, those banks and shoreline cover will get warm, and those bass will sometimes pull up onto them banks and the shoreline cover, especially wood and riprap, and you can throw something like this right along it, and sometimes you'll just whack them. I've had a ton of hits on spinnerbaits in the winter and Huddlestons. Move them right next to the shoreline, just like I am right now. Now this bait right here you've probably heard of. Very popular these days. It's an umbrella rig or an Alabama rig. It'll get fished essentially the same way. The crankbait will get fished really. Throw it out, reel it in, pump it, and it'll make the wings and arms on that umbrella rig flex, and it'll look like that school of fish are popping, like they're trying to avoid the bass that's hopefully looking at it. You throw it out. You can let it sink to the bottom or fish it just around the shoreline. But let it sink to the bottom, give it a nice pull to get it up off the bottom. Now here, with all this muck and leaves and all that jazz, it's probably got stuff hung up on it just from letting it hit the bottom once. So I'm not gonna do that. But basically just another throw out and reel in bait. I don't know why fish like it so much, but they do. It's really big and obnoxious, but fish crunch it. It cracks me up that a fish would even look at it and think it's something they could eat. Now in this clear water, I don't know how probable it is that one would eat it because of how big and obnoxious it is. But people fish with it all across the country, so you really never know. And this is a Booyah Flash Mob Jr. It has really thick wire. I really don't like it, but it is inexpensive. And I'm poor, so it's a great choice for somebody like me. And a lot of people throw it, but there are better options. I think Picasso makes a really nice one that has thin wire, which is what you would want for clear water. So now I've covered the top winter fishing tactics for fishing fast that I like and that I use. It's a great way to change it up when you get tired of just dragging something really slow across the bottom. However, dragging something really slow across the bottom is super effective, and I'll be covering that in the next video. Thank you.